Hi, everybody. Yeah, you can't see my face. That's because um, I've been meaning to do my tarot videos, and I haven't been getting to it. But I've always been getting to my 10 o'clock video blog, so I figured I might as well do it during my blog. Um, I already did the 3-card and the 6-card spreads. I do plan on redoing it, but I've already done those. So I figured the next one would be the Celtic cross. There are all kinds of different Celtic crosses. Just because you were taught the Celtic cross doesn't mean it's the same one I do. That doesn't mean it's the same one somebody else does. I have counted a good 25 different Celtic crosses that all look exactly the same. Just because I've counted that many doesn't mean that there isn't even more of them. So it is a little different. I also figured that the best way for me to show the Celtic cross is to actually do a reading. Just to let you know about readings for yourself, you should always take them with a grain of salt, because card can mean several different things depending on the situation. And you can make a card mean what you want it to. So just because it's saying you're going to meet the person of your dreams tomorrow or sometime soon doesn't mean that it's actually the case. It might mean that you're going to be good with yourself, so the possibility of meeting somebody special could happen, or something else entirely. But you wanted it to mean that, so that means that that's what you made it mean. So it doesn't necessarily mean anything. This is the way I was taught how to do it. I shuffle the deck until I feel like it's time to not shuffle it anymore. Hopefully it won't be very long since you're all listening. And then I cut the deck into 3 piles and put it back together in a different order than what I took it apart. It's easier just to do it straight across. That's what I generally do when I do it for myself, but a person could do it in any number of ways. You may notice that while shuffling the cards, I am not doing a bridge like you do when you're like playing poker or crazy eights or whatever. That's because it breaks down the center of the card and makes it so you need to buy new cards. And the older a deck is, the better, because it gets your energy on it. And then I cut it again. I'm cutting it 3 times. Everything is a series of 3s. And now I'm shuffling it again. And while I'm shuffling it, I'm thinking about what I want it to be about. Get a specific question or generally about myself. I'm trying to think of myself at this time, not any specific question. And this is the 3rd time I'm cutting it. So this time, I'm going to pick the pile that my cards are in. It's this one. I will put these off to the side and I will shuffle. There's no set amount of time or set amount of shuffling that needs to get done. It just needs to be until you feel it's done. With the way I do cards, a card being upside down doesn't mean anything special. That's why I flip the card back over. Some people consider that to be meaning an opposite intention. Some people think just being flipped over the other way means an opposite intention. But with my system, there is no opposite. The cards just mean what they are. Okay, the first position. The first position is the subject. Okay. The subject in this case, I don't think you can see it very well. It is the prince. No, I'm sorry, I missaw. It's the knight of swords, which is talking about making plans and seeing them through to fruition in great haste. The next card I pull has to do with what shades it, what makes it more of what it is. And my plans are being shaped by Hermit, which is a trump card. And the Hermit is talking about going to the beat of a different drummer, accepting your aloneness, and going on the path that's least traveled, going your own way, and leaving the past behind, but not shutting the door on it, and going with confidence, you're going your own way. There's also an aspect of a spiritual leader or teacher that could help. Okay, I am going to do this in the direction of you doing the cards and not me. So just letting you know that because I'm putting this here instead of here, it would be at the top of the reading, okay? The top of the reading is a conscious mind, and it's talking about going without fear, just going along with the flow. You might notice she's being swept away with a tiger, and she's not scared of the tiger. And she's also naked, which means that she has nothing to hide. And that is the conscious mind. Next one, which goes on the bottom, is the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is talking about knight in shining armor. It's talking about keeping things balanced. It's talking about someone saving you, a knight in shining armor type. This is where I have been or where I am right now. And yeah, looks pretty wild. This is lust. In other decks, this card is called power. Let you look at it again. And it's talking about living life, living every moment, and experiencing it totally, not leaving any stone unturned, and thoroughly enjoying and experiencing everything without fear. Next position is where I am going or where I am right now. It's talking about making decisions. This is science. It's the sixth of swords, and it's talking about looking at every side of the story and then making decisions from there. And the edge. It's talking about looking at your perspective, my perspective, and any type of decision. This position that I'm about to do represents the person asking the question. So in this case, it's me. And it's talking about the negative messages that people tell themselves. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not courageous enough. I'm not whatever. These are usually things that we pick up in childhood, but they can be picked up anytime. There are messages that get repeated enough that we believe them, even though they're not true. And that's what this card is talking about. It's talking about not worrying about the negative messages, that it's not what's really happening. Next position is the outside influences. Outside influences talk about the fear of defeat. It's the Five of Swords. It's talking about the fear of defeat, but it also is talking about fear of lack of control over a situation, and how control is really an illusion. We can't control anything past our own nose. And even that is dependent on outside influences. Control is an illusion. It's kind of like a surfboard on a wave. You can push it going one way or another. You can push it. But ultimately, the wave is telling it what way to go. Life is the same way. We don't really have control over situations. We just think we do. It's talking about trying to remind ourselves of that and to accept it. The next position is the hopes and fears position. It's either something that I'm scared of, something that I'm want desperately, or both. The Lovers. It's talking about a relationship between two people and a melding of opposites between themselves and each other. The actual picture is that of a wedding. I'd say in this case, it's probably both. Because, yeah, it's nice to have somebody in your life. That idea kind of scares me too. For good reason. And then the next card is the final outcome card. The final outcome card is truce. And it goes right here. And it's talking about everything not being perfect. A truce is not peace. A truce is not fighting. There's a difference. Truce is talking about keeping an eye out to keep things balanced and to stomp out fires before they become infernos. Keep the truce going. And that is a Celtic cross. We'll go through it again. And remember, this is from your perspective. If it was my perspective, this card would be here, this one would be here, this one would be here, and this one would be here. And all of these would be in different spaces too. And this is from your perspective of you doing the card reading. The first card in the center is the basic situation. And the one going over it in a cross is what shapes it. Then comes the conscious mind at the top, subconscious mind at the bottom, then to the right is where you are now or where you have been. To the left is where you are now or where you are going. And it is you. Outside influences on you. Hopes and fears, and the final outcome. That is a Celtic cross. Now, the next tarot video that I do it should be a redoing of the first card reading. But if it isn't, then I'll be going on to the symbolism on the cards to help us remember it so we don't have to use a book to read the cards, because if you're doing that, you can't really meld the reading into each other. And to meld the reading into each other, I'll give you an indication. I read each card as we were going because I was telling you about the reading. Okay. The basic situation. It's talking about me doing these videos and writing my book. And it's talking about me getting my butt in gear to do more New Age fairs and craft shows. It's being shaped by fact that nobody's doing this with me and that I have to do things on my own if I'm going to do this. And not be afraid and to leave the past behind and start my new life. Okay. And it goes on to the conscious mind. It's my conscious mind is right now isn't displaying any fear of this situation, although sometimes it does. So it's reminding me not to be scared, that I can do this and to just go along with the flow and do what I need to do. My subconscious mind is scared. It wants somebody to save me. Or it wants me to become my own knight in shining armor, one of the two. One is a lot rosier than the other. Okay, then we go on to what's been happening and what's happening now. And it's talking about how I've been taking care of myself and how I've been trying to experience life because my life was stifled for a good chunk of time. And how I've been trying to just experience things. And that's what I've been doing. It's saying that I'm going into a time that decisions are going to need to be made. And to look at what I need to do when it comes to everybody's perspective. Ultimately, I have to make the decision for myself, but I need to look at all the different perspectives and not just run whole hog into whatever mess I can find myself in. I need to actually deliberate where I'm going. Okay, then we go on to myself. It's talking about my fears and how what I feel is not necessarily the reality of the situation, that those negative things of nobody wants to pay attention to me and blah, 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 all of that is just garbage. I need to let it go. When I feel I'm in a not comfortable space, I have a tendency to want to try and control things. And the outside influences are reminding me not to control everything, every minute thing, because that will stop me from doing. It's reminding me not to do that. Hopes and fears position. I want a relationship. Yeah, I want a happy one. My last relationship stopped being happy a long time ago, and I want a happy relationship. But one that the person is like really present and an equal partner. And the outcome is a truce, plain and simple. It's doing what I need to do to make things happen and to keep and to stomp out fires to keep people from getting upset. Um, so that's how they all meld in together. Um, once again, subject, what shapes it? Conscious mind, subconscious mind. What's been, what will be, me. Outside influences, hopes and fears, final outcome. It's, that is the Celtic cross, the way I have been taught to do it. And now you've been taught to do it this way too. Usually, when I am done doing this, I will spread out the cards and ask questions. Any questions that came up in my head when it came to the reading. And I will be doing that right now since I am doing a reading for myself. Even if I'm talking to you all at the same time. I spread out the cards and then I ask a question. Generally, when I'm doing it for someone else, I tell them not to tell me what the question is. I do that when it comes to the reading as well. Some people believe the exact opposite. Me, I think that if I know what the question is, I might shade what the answer is. And I don't want to do that. I want what's on the card and what images have been brought up to me. I don't want it to be changed by anything. So I am going to ask, okay, what questions do I have when it comes to that? What is it that I'm being told about when it comes to having lack of control? Other people. But it's other people that are close, like family or organizations, which is true. In this case, the answer was the King of Cups. Well, Knight of Cups, same thing. And he is on a quest for family, loving family relationship. Okay, what else? What do I need to make decisions about? The decisions I need to make have to do with taking care of myself. I've been in a long, arid time and I need to take care of myself now. I need to heal. She is the queen of discs, which means that it's on the physical plane. And it's talking about me taking care of me after a long, hard time, being in fertile soil where I can rest and take care of me. I can't think of any other questions to ask. So that's the end of my reading. And it's a good time to stop anyway because somebody just came in. Yeah, this worked out well. Granted, I didn't do my regular blog post, but I think it worked out well. I think I'll turn this off and then turn it back on again and do my regular blog post because I shouldn't skip it just because I was doing this. So I'll be back in a few minutes. Enjoy.